know, there's one thing I've noticed recently with all these Steam Deck competitors that they all have in common, for the most part. They all seem to have better, faster performance, but never really managed to make a noticeable dent in the market. Whereas the Steam Deck, this thing took off, fairly unchallenged in its price bracket. Apparently Valve sold 3 million units up to now, so we got some really cool stuff going on in the handheld world right now. And I've got some thoughts that I wanted to share with you, but first, I want to keep you up to speed on this conversation before we get there. Now, usually every April, there's a pretty common marketing strategy amongst companies where they normally announce usually a bunch of ridiculous stuff to fool people into thinking they're going to release some sort of outrageous product. I think BMW did something like lunar paint at some point where it's supposed to charge their vehicles with the power of moonlight. The point is, for the most part, these are jokes, not meant to actually deceive customers, maybe other than Samsung if you're taking photos of the moon. But now, where things got a little confusing was with ASUS, because they decided to release an ad for the ROG Ally, their first handheld gaming PC, which looks super legit, until the head of product management at ROG then posted, "Happy April Fools, ROG Ally, a lie." So ASUS got us, right? Well, actually no. With all the chaos and after showing everyone a product that looked like something you might actually want, the following day, ROG Japan tweeted that the real joke was that the product wasn't fake, but actually real. So probably the most questionable decision to announce a product like this, because if you guessed it, people were kind of confused what was going on. But apparently this is very real. There's a Best Buy sign-up page, and it looked like ASUS was trying to test the waters to see if people would actually want to buy something like this. So what we know now is that the ROG Ally is aiming to become an even more powerful handheld gaming competitor, but this time not backed by some tiny startup, but by ASUS. On paper, it's pretty nuts. They're promising a 7-inch 16:9 1080p panel that can run at 120 Hz with a peak brightness of 500 nits. It's also lighter than something like a Steam Deck at 608 grams, and it's all gonna be powered by an AMD APU, Zen 4 RDNA 3 architecture. So based on the spec sheet, it's baller, right? I guess sort of. What I'm really interested in is the type of user experience this is gonna offer. The Steam Deck is my only personal comparison to something like this, and when you really enjoy something, you want it to be successful. Gaming PC handhelds have existed before the Deck, but this would fundamentally change the way a lot of people viewed handhelds. It introduced Linux on a wide scale as a usable gaming platform other than Windows, and what's made this so attractive is its entry price and ecosystem. The Ally is going to be using a custom version of Armoury Crate as a game launcher, as well as Windows 11. Honestly speaking, Armoury Crate is not really well known at being a good software. Sometimes it feels more like bloatware than actually being functional. Now, I think they made some interesting choices that not everyone is going to love. A couple months ago, I said that if ASUS made a handheld, it would have that gamer drip look, and it's got RGB. But some of the things missing, like trackpads, the fewer back buttons, no mention of gyro or touchscreen functionality yet. The ability to customize controller inputs can be huge. It's something highly important for PC gaming, accessibility, and especially for emulation. I think the big thing that a lot of people are focusing on is the spec sheet itself, which looks super good. Now, the decision to upgrade the screen and go with 120 Hz is like a double-edged sword. You get a lot more pixels and a smoother refresh rate. It's probably gonna look amazing, but you're absolutely also gonna shred battery life, if you can even manage to find games that run at those specs. High refresh rate gaming on a handheld is gonna be rough. So hopefully ASUS figures out how to balance the performance and battery life well enough to make these upgrades fully make sense. Because it'd be pretty sweet to get the performance bump, but if I can only game for like 35 minutes before Windows is telling me battery life is about to die, that would be pretty unfortunate. Only time will tell how comfortable this thing is ergonomically to hold, and if the thermal system can maintain to cool this off. It's using 2 fans now that are supposedly real quiet. Hopefully that's not also adding to the battery life drain too bad, and the SSD and thumbsticks are also claimed to be easily replaceable. So here's the thing, is this really a true Steam Deck competitor? I feel like we can't just compare the spec sheet because the Steam Deck is a lot more than just its specs. It's the software experience, it's the level of support it gets, the community that's behind it. It's able to appeal to a really wide audience, some that came from a console, and guide them into the PC space without overwhelming them. Another big thing is this is going to require ASUS to support it with software updates, drivers, all that fun stuff. So hopefully they don't just abandon it and move on after the hype dust settles. We don't know yet how much faster the Ally is going to be at launch compared to the Steam Deck in realistic scenarios. Supposed to be 50% faster than the Steam Deck at 15 watts and double the performance at 35 watts. But ultimately, I think if you're truly going to be a realistic competitor, the ROG brand is going to have to go a bit against the grain on this one. They're going to have to provide a killer price on this. And they're going to have to make all their margins on the hardware itself. They can't, pull a Microsoft or a Sony or a Valve and take a loss on hardware sales and make it up later with game sales. Unless ASUS plans, to pack the entry-level version with ads, I don't know, man, that's tough. The main rumor going around now is that it's planned for an October release with a black and white color option, $650 for the 512 model and $899 for 1 terabyte. Microsoft is also apparently involved to promote Game Pass on this, and it might be because there's speculation Sony is working on a handheld again. Again, this is all just words out there. There's a lot of unknowns on the table right now. Either way, it's always a good thing to have more competition in the space. And if you're looking for possibly the fastest, smoothest handheld gaming experience on paper, maybe the Ally might fit that role. We'll see. That's pretty much it. Just a couple quick takes about my whole experience. And if you're down to check out future coverage for this stuff, feel free to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.